Welcome to My Life in Israel podcast, news updates from Israel, where I report brief news updates about the Israel-Gaza war and Israeli politics with added commentary so you have a better understanding of what's going on here in Israel that you won't hear from mainstream news. Here are today's news briefs for April 10th, 2025. Missiles not arriving, infiltration, Turkey. Houthis have been firing 2 ballistic missiles and a suicide drone at Israel daily, including today. However, for the past week and a half, most of these have failed in flight, with a few being intercepted by the Americans and 1 or 2 drones by the IDF. No alarms in Israel, thank God. Defense Minister says. Defense Minister Israel Katz on a visit to the new Morag dividing corridor in South Gaza, just above Rafah. The IDF is annexing new territories to Israel's buffer zone, leaving Gaza smaller. If Hamas does not release the hostages soon, the IDF will engage in intense fighting throughout the Gaza Strip. On Independence Day celebrations, IDF. In accordance with the war situation and the IDF's focus on operational activity, the National Air Force flyover and flotilla in Eilat on Independence Day will not take place this year. Okay, yeah, this is a thing that happens every year. There's usually a flyover of the Air Force, especially over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It's something that everybody looks forward to, but because of the war, that's not going to happen. Also, it's interesting to note that on these holidays, like in American Independence Day, there's usually fireworks. Here in Israel, there are usually no fireworks because the whole country now has PTSD with this war and rockets and sirens. Every boom, even a clap of thunder, shakes people up. So people don't really light fireworks for Independence Day. Okay, moving on. French President Macron. We must move towards recognizing a Palestinian state, and we will do it in the coming months, perhaps at the joint conference we will hold with Saudi Arabia in June. Okay, this is ridiculous. This is the West forcing their agenda on Israel. They keep saying that Israel has the right to defend itself, and yet keeps pushing for the terror to continue. This is never going to happen. Israel does not want a Palestinian state, not after October 7th, and it will never happen as long as we have anything to say about it. And nobody else is going to force us to do that. So they're just placating to their own people and trying to force their agenda on Israel. And it's not going to go anywhere. Infiltration. IDF Judea and Samaria Division Base. An Arab infiltrated the base without base security noticing. Soldiers passing by noticed him, captured him, and brought him to the commanders. This is really bizarre and amazing. This happens more than you think. It happens all the time, actually, especially in the south. The Bedouin, the Arab Israeli Bedouins, who are actually Israeli citizens, have on more than one occasion just been able to just walk onto an IDF base and steal weapons. And I don't understand how they're able to do this. The bases are not manned securely, and this is able to happen. And what the Bedouins do with the weapons is they give them or sell them to the Palestinians in the West Bank or in Gaza. They're weapons smuggling. And if you think about it, they're Israeli citizens. They're giving weapons to our enemies. I mean, that's literally treason. I mean, they should be tried and executed for these types of things. And I don't know whatever happens to them. This is a real problem here in Israel, in the south. The Bedouins do all kinds of things, and they don't seem to get any repercussions for it. So that's just a little background on that. Lebanon. Israel hits another Hezbollah weapons depot in the Bekaa. IDF. Hezbollah has been trying in recent months to rehabilitate an underground weapons production site in the heart of a residential neighborhood in the Hadahia district of Beirut. The site was rebuilt under residential buildings and near a school. after it was attacked by Israel in November 2024. So they're still at it. Gaza. IDF forces located and destroyed dozens of weapons and terrorist infrastructure, including a tunnel shaft located near one of the buildings in the area and a cache of mortar bombs in the Shavira neighborhood, Rafah, South Gaza. Okay. U.S. versus the Houthis. The U.S. military carried out the most powerful attacks since the start of the operation in Yemen last night, with an emphasis on ammunition depots hidden in the mountains east of Sana'a, Yemen. Turkey says, Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan, technical talks with Israel to avoid conflict in Syria. Talks are limited to this topic. Israel confirms such talks. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev revealed today, "We are mediating in the current crisis between Turkey and Israel. Both countries are our close friends. The tension between these two countries is very disturbing and worrying." Okay, but it's nothing new. Turkey and Israel have had their share of disputes before in the past, especially with this Erdogan guy. So it's just up a notch because they're getting close to Syria. Syria, Damascus, marches in support of terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip. In Hamudia Market in Damascus, hundreds of Sunni marchers chant, "The people want to declare jihad." Okay, there it is, guys. Jihad. You guys don't believe us when we tell you that this is a religious war. This is not about oppression per se, secular against secular people just wanting freedom. This is religious Islamic jihad that want to claim a caliphate with only Islamic Sharia law. So when they're going after Israel, that's what they want. They're in support of the Islamic State, not just the terrorist group, the Islamic State, but the idea of an Islamic State. So this is proof of that. President Trump says if military action is needed against Iran, Israel will lead the way. Iran supplies long-range missiles to Iraq-based militias in major escalation. President Trump made a strong statement regarding Iran, emphasizing the likelihood of military action if necessary. He stated, "With Iran, yeah, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that and be the leader of that." For the first time, Iran has reportedly delivered long-range surface-to-surface missiles to its allied militias in Iraq. This major escalation, coordinated by Iran's Revolutionary Guards Air Force, occurred last week and significantly boosts Tehran's military influence in the region. British outlet The Times confirmed that intelligence officials monitoring the roughly 1,000-mile border between Iran and Iraq verified the weapons transfer. This marks a new phase in Iran's strategy. It's the first instance where such powerful missile capabilities have been provided to Iran-backed groups in Iraq. Okay, so this is new, but Iraq, the government in Iraq has told the Iranian-backed militias operating in Iraq to not do anything, to try to attack Israel so that Israel will start attacking in Iraq. So I don't know if the Iraqi government is going to try and do something to curtail or influence this from happening. PM Netanyahu stated, "Israel is not seeking a confrontation with Turkey, but will not hesitate to act if necessary to defend itself." According to The Economist, citing Israeli officials, Israel is concerned that Syrian President al-Sharar may allow Hamas to establish a foothold in Syria, posing a significant security threat. See, we were just saying that they were demonstrating in Syria for jihad, and now they're like supporting the idea of Hamas also in Syria. So we're gonna kick them out of Gaza, and then we're just gonna find them back in Syria. So I don't know how this is going to help. We need to just kill them all, and not just move them out of Gaza, actually. Hamas terrorists are increasingly retreating from direct engagement with IDF forces, according to N12 News. That's an Israeli news. Terror operatives are blending into civilian areas and remaining hidden in tunnels and hideouts. The IDF believes this is a temporary phase. Only temporary. I don't know why, but they seem to be taking a break. After they literally just tried to shoot rockets across Ashkelon and Ashdod a few days ago. So they are doing something, but it doesn't seem like they're doing much. Southern Gaza's city of Rafah is almost deserted after both civilians and terrorists fled. The IDF is now focusing on expanding control in additional areas of Gaza. So now it looks like the IDF is like literally in control of Rafah. There's nothing there, nobody there. So this is what they want to do. They want to squeeze Hamas until they're surrounded, basically. Defense officials report that only about 25% of Hamas's tunnel network has been destroyed, while massive strategic tunnels have been blown up. Large sections, particularly in central Gaza, remain untouched, highlighting the extent to which Gaza was transformed into a sprawling terror base. Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. It seems unbelievable that we've only destroyed a quarter of the tunnels. It just defies imagination. President Trump declared, "We're not going to buy Gaza, we're going to have Gaza. There's nothing to buy. We're going to take it, we're going to hold it." Okay, I don't know how I feel about this. This is there's good points and bad points about this. Right now we need the American US government support, military support. But I don't know how I feel about US sovereignty in Gaza. I feel it should be Israeli sovereignty, not a foreign entity. But this is how Trump works. So I don't know how this is going to end up, but for right now, this is the way it's going. Prime Minister Netanyahu stated, "Negotiations are underway with two large countries to absorb very large numbers of Gazans who will voluntarily immigrate." That's great. Great. The more the merrier. Get them out. Get them out now. The U.S. Senate voted 53 to 46 to confirm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee as the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. Notably, Senator John Fetterman was the only Democrat to support the nomination. I love John Fetterman. I don't care that he's a Democrat. He's been like unashamedly pro-Israel, and I love that about him. And I love Mike Huckabee. He's a staunch supporter of Israel. In Argentina, a dramatic legal development is unfolding. Prosecutor Sebastian Basso has petitioned the federal court to issue both national and international arrest warrants for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. This is in connection to his alleged role in orchestrating the 1994 AMIA bombing in Buenos Aires. Oh, so finally, somebody besides Israel is being issued a arrest warrant. But it's not through the ICC or ICJ, unfortunately. That's nowhere to be found, but it's coming from Argentina. The devastating attack on the Jewish Community Center killed 85 people and injured hundreds more. Hezbollah terrorists, supported by Iran, carried out the bombing. So Hezbollah, what the hell is Hezbollah doing in Argentina, you ask? Hezbollah is supposed to be only in Lebanon, supporting Lebanon. But no, they're not really supporting Lebanon. They're supporting Iran and Iran's agenda, anywhere Iran wants to be. So again, you don't understand who these organizations are. You think they're just after supporting the poor, oppressed people in Gaza, and they're against Israel. They're against Israel, but they're not they're not just supporting the people in Gaza. They're doing Iran's bidding. So don't understand who these organizations are. Basso contends that Khamenei led the decision to carry out a bomb attack in Buenos Aires in July 1994 and issued Executive Order Fatwa 39 to carry it out. This represents a sharp departure from the stance of previous prosecutors who had treated Khamenei as protected by diplomatic immunity. So there you go. And so it's interesting to note that they Iran attacked a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Not Israelis, Jews. Jews, not in Israel, outside Israel, in Argentina. So this is Iran's agenda. This is Islamic agenda to destroy Jews wherever they are in the world. Again, they're not just fighting against the poor, oppressed Palestinians. They're against Jews. And make no mistake about it. Okay, so let's watch this little short clip of Trump.
With Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do.
Okay, on to the next news item. Anti-war Air Force stunt. Hostage negotiations undermined. Okay. Explosions heard last night. The Air Force is destroying buildings in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. This is the reason for the explosions that are heard from the south to the center of the country. Yeah, I'm surprised that some of these booms are like so strong that they can be felt and heard all the way in Tel Aviv. I'm actually in Ashkelon right now, and I hear booms all day long. Even during the before the ceasefire, during when there was constant fighting going on, there was booms. You heard booms all the time. I'm still hearing booms constantly all day long. Some of them are very loud and strong, and you almost think that it's like a rocket exploding close by, and there's like no sirens or anything. So if there's no sirens, you know it's actually us doing the bombing instead of Hamas or anybody else trying to shoot rockets at us. So that's a little insight of what it's like to be here in Israel right now. Anti-war letter stunt. This is interesting. A letter from retired air crew members, including pilots, in favor of ending the war has been published. The letter expresses a lack of confidence in the IDF Chief of Staff, in the IDF Air Force Commander, and states the war is pointless. Continuing the war will result in the deaths of IDF soldiers and innocent civilians. Well, that's what any war does, duh. Stunts. While the letter was published as Air Force reservists refuse, less than 10% are those have been activated in the reserves in recent years. The Army is expected to dismiss them. Beitar's Global Leadership Director, Major Reserve Yigal Brand, audacity and dangerous people who learned nothing from October 7th. These are people who flirt with refusal, call for surrender to Hamas, and divide us. Yeah, this is obviously like another kind of like deep state psyop propaganda trying to cause division and chaos here in Israel. This is stupid and ridiculous. But it gives fodder to our enemies to say, oh, look, there's even IDF people who don't want to fight and refuse to fight and think the war is pointless and we should just give up. So it gives our enemies hope to keep fighting, which I think that's what they want. They do these things to continue the fighting, the terror. Okay. Bizarre culture conflict. Rambam Hospital, Haifa. A senior doctor threatened with a knife 2 religious boys operating a tefillin stand, a table with Jewish tefillin, offering passing men the opportunity to perform the religious practice and a quick prayer. He came, shouted at us, "Get out of here!" got angry and kicked our things. Yeah, this is another thing that happens here in Israel. To my utter disgust and dismay, it also happens in Tel Aviv. I was just talking about how Tel Aviv is notoriously majority secular and they're very anti-religious, even in the schools. And here it's even happening in Haifa, which is in the north of Israel, and from a doctor somehow. I don't know where this tefillin stand, outside the hospital, inside the hospital. But again, it's another instance of religious animosity to Jews, and this is supposed to be a Jewish country where Jews are supposed to feel safe being Jewish. And we have our own people who attack other Jews for being Jewish. Like, make it make sense, people. This is the part of being in Israel that is not good, and it needs to change. But there it is. Foreign Minister responds to France. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, in response to French President Macron's comments about possible recognition of a Palestinian state. Unilateral recognition of an imaginary Palestinian state by any state in the reality familiar to us all would be nothing more than a reward for terrorism and a strengthening of Hamas. Such things will not only not bring peace, security, and stability closer to our region, but on the contrary, they will push them farther away. Exactly what I said before. They want the conflict to continue, and they keep reiterating and repeating this mantra of a two-state solution to keep the conflict going. Hamas chutzpah. Hamas has filed a legal petition demanding that it be removed from Britain's list of banned terrorist organizations. It claims that it is a resistance movement and does not pose a threat to Britain. Uh-oh, unless you're a Jew in Britain, or Christian. I don't know what to think about that. That's kind of bizarre. Tell the Muslims in Britain that want to take over and have Sharia law in Britain and see if they think they're a resistance movement or they pose a threat to Britain. They openly declare that they're a threat to Britain. Just in time for the holiday, parking increases. The Kinneret Cities Association effectively doubled parking rates by the Kinneret beaches. Because we're coming into a holiday week, and people have the week off from work, and they go to the beaches and parks, and now they're going to raise parking rates. So that's fun. Hostage negotiations being undermined. News 14. An advisor to the families of the hostages, an Israeli living in Virginia, connected to the Qataris, was sent to Qatar and used by the Israeli negotiating team, contrary to the Prime Minister's directive. What? Prime Minister's office in response. While outgoing Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar is conducting a futile investigation against Prime Minister's advisor regarding Qatar, it becomes clear who is really collaborating with Qatar. Time after time, elements in the negotiation team have operated contrary to the Prime Minister and have shirked the demand to get Hamas to surrender. Okay, this doesn't really make any... Okay, I'm trying to make sense of this. So the Shin Bet, who is supposed to be helping the negotiations in Qatar for a hostage deal, and is investigating people within Netanyahu's office for collaborating with Qatar, has now have their own outside person living in Virginia go to Qatar, contrary to the Prime Minister's directive, to try to do what exactly? I don't even understand what the purpose of that is. So this is like, again, this is deep state stuff. This is like the deep state doing exactly what they claim or charge the other side of doing. But somehow they get away with it, and then they make it out to be the other side is doing something criminal when they're literally doing the same thing. I don't even understand this at all. Okay, that's it for today. Be sure to check back, and we'll give you more news updates. Thanks for listening to My Life in Israel podcast. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for non-podcast videos. If you enjoyed the podcast, like, share, comment, and follow me on Spotify and other podcast apps so you never miss another episode. Support my work and support Israel by making a one-time or monthly donation or become a subscriber to get access to exclusive content. The links are in my profile and description. And stay tuned because I have a lot more to say. Am Israel High.